Welcome to N21 FM, the Pokemon trading card, the Pokemon trading card game podcast. I am your host, Glenn, and joined today is my buddy Randy.
Hello.
And today we're going to go over the Charlotte Regional Championship that just took place this past weekend, January 19th through the 20th. This was the biggest regional tournament of all time, and I was honored to be able to have Randy in my group. Well, not as much in my group, but definitely there at the time with the group of guys I went with for the tournament. So, Randy, why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd first of all?
My name is Randy. I've been playing Pokemon for all of 8 months. Passed my judge test after a week of playing and have been judging regional events since then. So this was my third regional under my belt.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. Super cool that I'm able to actually sit down and talk to somebody who's judging. Because I myself, I'll start. I've been playing the game for just over a year and some change. And I do have judge credentials, but I don't exercise them because I just like putting myself through loser brackets every tournament I go to rather than actually judging tournaments. Randy, what's the judge experience like for you as far as like day to day? Like before we get into like the nitty gritty of things, like how does it differ? Obviously, other than just not playing the games yourself.
How does it differ from like the local level, or how does it differ from being a player?
Either, whichever you prefer.
Well, at the local level, it's a lot of I feel like you become friends with the store owners pretty quickly, especially if you go frequently and that kind of thing. And at the regional level, you're talking about people that you only really see when you go to these regional events. So it's a lot about like making first impressions, making those impressions count, and kind of getting to know everybody so that they do remember you, keeping in touch, even when you're not doing these events and that kind of thing. But as far as like the actual day to day, it's kind of the same. It's obviously more organized, and I have bosses and people above me that are kind of guiding me the whole time versus a local level where I'm kind of just the head judge all the time. Yeah. At the regional level, there's me as a floor judge, and then an assistant head judge, and then a head judge, and then there's a TCG lead on top of that. Like it's a whole skew of things, but it's not like there's a whole lot of pressure or anything like that. You get, at least for the 2 times that I've had to be a floor judge, you can't really issue anything more than a double prize card penalty, or double prize card or above without approval from a head judge or assistant head judge. So gotcha. I feel confident when I'm only supposed to give a warning. So whenever somebody like Greninja's under path or Iono shuffles or anything crazy like that, that's when I have to involve somebody. But besides that, it's nothing crazy.
Oh, sick. That's super cool, actually. So day to day, what does that look like? Are you just observing games? Like, how often were you called over, do you think, during Charlotte?
Well, for Charlotte, I was a floor judge for junior division, and the thing with junior players is they have really, really small bladders. So it's a lot of bathroom breaks. So it's bathroom breaks. It's a lot of it's like the usual misplays that you see. I genuinely don't think kids misplay any more or less than Master Division. I think the misplays that you see are common mistakes that anyone can make. I think if there is a difference, it's not large. Kids forget to put out their prizes. Masters forget to put out their prizes.
Kids, that's true.
Greninja under path. Masters Greninja under path. It's the same mistakes across the board. The biggest difference is just the way that you kind of have that conversation. I feel like when you're working with seniors, which I did for Portland, or with juniors, which I did for Charlotte, it's a lot of just being very careful with the way that you phrase things, kind of, taking a knee, get down to their like eye level, make sure that they know that you're talking directly at them and that they're not in trouble, that you're just kind of like, hey, here are the rules that are in place, and this is the action that happened during the game, and this is the penalty that has to happen because of the action that was taken. And it's just kind of like a if this, then that. and
Gotcha.
That's just kind of the way you have to approach it.
Yeah, that makes good sense. They're kids. I mean, you can't be like, "Hey, you're dumb. You Greninja under path, dude. You gotta take those.
Yeah,
two
you
prizes.
Can't just walk up to a kid and be like, "Oh, you're an idiot." Like that's not how that works.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's okay. You've definitely done that to me when you were judging at our locals.
I mean, you can take it. It's fine.
Oh, for sure. That's because I am an idiot. I've made dumb things.
Yeah.
That's cool though. It's cool to get the insight because I hope to someday like judge a regional. You said this is your third, right? So you did Portland, and what was the other one?
San Antonio was my first one.
Nice, very cool. San Antonio was the one that was biggest of all time prior to this, right?
Correct. Yep.
Oh my gosh! So you're just coming out
San
the gate
Antonio broke the record.
Give me all the biggest tournaments.
Dude, I wanted to be in there, and they put me in there. I got lucky that coming into this, I'm really close friends with somebody who's frequently a head judge in VGs, and she vouched for me to the tournament organizers when I put her down as a reference. They reached out to her, and she was like, "Yeah, like she said whatever she said," and I guess it was enough that they were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna give him a shot," So
nice, super cool.
Thankful to her. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to her. Super dope. So when it comes then to Charlotte, you said so you were dealing with juniors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any like particular favorite interactions, or like what is like a day-to-day even like first thing in the morning, right? Like you got up pretty early from what I understand, right? Like it's I heard
yeah, we had to be there at like 6:40 or something like that. It was something crazy. But I mean, honestly, the time flies by so quickly when you're with so many people and just like talking about it, like talking about everything that you're gonna see happening. The day to day is like you go in, you check in, of course, you say hi to everybody. Yeah. If your team is having a meeting, you have your meeting. Like rounds started, I think at like 9:00 for juniors or something like that. And up until then, you're just making sure you have everything. Making sure you've got pens everywhere and your clipboard if you need it, and kind of just getting a game plan with your head judge. Day to day as a floor judge, really, like I can't speak for being a head judge or AH because I wasn't one, but as a floor judge, you're really just you're walking around, you're observing games. Obviously, like it's the player's job to maintain board state at all times. And it's your job as a judge to make sure that the players are maintaining board states, kind of. So, watching, reminding people when, like, to draw for turns. Like, I couldn't tell you the amount of times I see somebody who's, like, looking at their hand and their opponent passes, and they're so focused on what's in their hand that they forget to draw for turn. So they, like, reach for a card in their hand as if they're going to play it, and then I have to, like, extend my hand out and be like, wait a minute, draw your card. You have to draw your card first. So it's like stuff like that, but it's really I get to observe the way that those kids like think, and you can always tell who receives coaching from like Masters players. As somebody who watches a lot of Master play myself, like I can kind of pick up on those like habits, like the hand shuffling and other gestures that you're like, oh, I know where you got that twitch from, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's really cool because like like the entire day you're just like watching these kids play, and you don't really get called on until something happens where like there's a warning or there's a ZPC or a game loss or something, unfortunately. So when you're not issuing those penalties, it's a lot of just observing, but something about having a judge walking around, I'm sure, especially as a player, it's like there's somebody here who has my back in case something happens, or if they notice something, it's kind of like on me to be paying attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super sick. It's cool that you brought up like you can tell who gets like coaching from Masters, because I feel like, I don't know, man, I wouldn't even be able to think about it. I'd be so overwhelmed doing judging with that many kids, but you're able to pick up on all these little nuances and see like these kids have, like in juniors, they have like all these same strengths and weaknesses as Masters players. Now, have you only ever judged for juniors, or did you do seniors? I know we're kind of getting off of like the Charlotte train, but did you do any other divisions at Portland or San Antonio?
Yeah, so for San Antonio, I did deck checking, which to anybody who's interested in becoming a judge for the Pokemon TCG, becoming a Pokemon professor, I highly suggest that for your first application, you put deck check as your first thing, because something about working deck check really gave me the confidence that I think I needed to, when I'm observing games happen like real time, I'm also checking sleeves while I'm watching the game. And it's a skill that you assume is happening because you're, a judge, because you're a professor, you're watching these things, and it's assumed that you're watching out for, marked cards and like all that kind of stuff. But it is like leaps and bounds more difficult when you don't have the deck check training kind of thing.
Yeah.
So huge shout out to my head judge for Portland. For San Antonio, Will, who gave me his like tips and tricks on how to deck check quickly, what to look for, and that kind of thing. That was great, and I was able to take that with me for for judging seniors in Portland. That came in handy. There was a couple instances where some corners were slightly bent, some things were happening, and kids and players walk up to you all the time, even from different divisions than the one that you're working, and they ask you to take a look at their cards and, hey, is there anything in here that you think I might have to switch out just to be safe? Or like, believe it or not, that's a question I got very often, is like, hey, can you take a look at my 60 card decks? Yeah. And let me know if there's anything that you see that stands out, and I felt confident giving that advice because of the training I got doing deck check from San Antonio. So yeah, I did deck check in San Antonio, seniors in Portland, and then juniors in Charlotte.
Nice. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, it's very reassuring to know that everybody else is also having the same thought process that I had, because I got deck checked during round 2, and the amount of anxiety that rushes over you when you're getting your deck checked, and you're just like, oh crap, did I put something in there, like since and obviously I haven't, like there's no way I've put something different in my deck, and the sleeves are fine, they've been fine. But that moment of like when a judge is like, all right, hey, we're gonna do deck check real quick, and it's like, oh crap, like
yeah. It also, I think it definitely makes a difference when you're approaching a table as a deck checker, introducing yourself and doing all of that. Like I'm sure, right? Like it has to happen where there is a judge who's never done deck check before, or not judge. There's a staff member, because deck checks aren't judge technically.
Right.
So there's a staff member who is their first time doing deck check or something like that, and we do deck checks for all 3 divisions. So that same nuance that I told you before about talking to juniors and seniors, where like you're getting down on a knee, you're talking to them in a very like calm voice, because they're gonna get nervous when you're somebody with a staff shirt, walks up to them, right? So you want to make sure you're like, hey, my name is Randy, here with deck check. We're trying to, we're just going to collect your cards really quick. You're not in trouble. Like giving them that reassurance of you're not in trouble goes such a long way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, there are instances where I'm sure like inexperienced staff members who this is their first regional or something like that, they'll go and they'll put a paper down and say, hey, we're going to take your decks. And it's like, okay, wait, whoa. There's a better way to do this. Hold on, slow down, Yeah, so
that sounds hostile just off the gate.
No, exactly. So keeping that kind of stuff in mind, like, I wouldn't want to be approached by somebody who's just like, hey, I'm going to take your deck, and I just have to trust them because they're wearing a staff shirt. Like, you have to really keep in mind, hey, this kid's like 6 years old. Like, relax.
This is a child. He's just here because there's Pikachus in his deck.
No, exactly. So you have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. But yeah, deck checking was crazy, and being deck checked, everything goes through your mind. You're like, is there a like bend in one of my cards that I didn't even know about? Like that's always the worst, when you don't know something's wrong with your deck, and they come back and give you a penalty because something was wrong with your deck that you didn't know.
The way I would have cried if there was something wrong with my deck, just because like that's something that you don't really think about, but like as a player of card games, and as somebody who is technically, I'm definitely out of practice, but I'm a card shark nonetheless. Like I have literally read the book on how to cheat at cards. Like markings are so powerful as a tool for like someone who is cheating, or just like in general, like to just for a player to have, right? it's crazy the amount of advantage you get from something like that. So deck check is supremely important. Like even just for instance, I probably should have opted to switch my energies out in the deck that I played, because I bought a set of the foil ones from Full Grip while we were there, and switched those out for game day. And I could tell a difference, like because one of them like curled up just ever so slightly, and I was like, oh, that's my energy and my prizes. Like I know exactly what that is, and like when I would go from game to game, I'd look at it and be like, yep, I'm right every time. Which is just insane how much of a difference that kind of stuff can make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff. Like I had two of my friends stayed with me from Florida in my apartment for the tournament, and only one of them was playing. The other one was another staff member.
Yeah,
but the guy who was playing, his deck that he plays with, like actually, is max rarity Roaring Moon. He has every, like literally the most expensive version of any card in that deck. That's the one that he plays.
Oh, jeez.
And that's great, except this was his first regional level event. It's the first time. I mean, he had played his first cup not long ago, and like he's relatively new to the scene. He just wants the shiniest cards, which is fine by me. You know what I mean? But when I explained to him, again, advice that I could give because I was in deck check for San Antonio was the amount of times that I had to speak to somebody about, potentially changing a card out, potentially changing a sleeve or something like that, because the rarity warp of the foil was too much. And it's like, you can only bend that back out so much. You know what I mean? Like it's impossible. So like there's like tricks
with cards that look like this, right?
You can't go in with tacos. Yeah, exactly.
Halloween.
So now here's the thing with that though, right? Like if the rule is there has to be uniformity. That's like the rule. Like, so if you play with an aggressive bend on the top right corner, whenever you play a card, you snap it really aggressively to the point where it bends a little bit every time, right?
Yep.
If your entire deck has that bend, that's considered uniform. Your entire deck is uniformly bent, therefore it's not a marked card.
Interesting.
A marked card is when a group of cards within your deck can be looked at differently like that. For example, there's an instance. Think about it this way. Let's say you're playing, I don't know, Miraidon, right? You're playing Miraidon, and you go, "Hey, my whole deck is whatever foil it is, but my energies are like gold, dude. Like my energies are the most expensive lightning energies you've ever seen in your life, right?" And of course, they develop a warp over time because foils do that, right? So you go to the regional event. Now imagine you get deck checked and your energies are foiled, but you're used to it because that's just how your energies are. And it's like, that could have been avoided by swapping them out for non-foil energies. You know what I mean? Like, I get that you want to play with these cards, but you need to understand there is a line between I want to play with this art or with this rarity, and I don't want to get disqualified from this tournament.
Right.
Because when you're getting a penalty for deck related issues, and I pulled up my little document that I put together for penalties. Deck legality is one of two things. There is no third option. Typically, when you're giving somebody a penalty, it's like gameplay error, right? For TCG, right? Gameplay error is always a warning first, then double prize card, then game loss. There's a severity level to it, right? For deck legality, you get a warning or you get a game loss, and there is no in between. Right?
Oh, it's one or the other.
Now,
jeez.
Right. So imagine an instance where like you have to tell a player, hey, we need to issue this game loss because your energies are too warped. Like you could clearly tell, like we could clearly tell by testing it, doing the 6 prize test, right? The 6 card prize test, which ones your energy were, right? And of course it's like devastating to hear that you're getting a game loss because your cards are warped a certain way, right? But like you have to be aware of that as a player playing at a competitive level.
Yeah.
You're up against people who like you grind to get good at this game, to go to these tournaments, to win an invitation to Worlds, to win your money, right? Like that's what adults want to do. They want to win their money with this. Like you want to win your 10K for getting first place. Like so does everybody else. You need to take it as seriously as possible. You need to be aware that your cards can only have a certain amount of bend before they become marked cards. Right?
I think
So
people
yeah,
forget that like it's on both players it's a responsibility, right? It's more than just like, oh, I'm here to play the game and win the money and this, that, and the other. Like you also you have a responsibility to make sure that the game that gets played is legal and is fair, and that both players get the entirety of like just all of the skill expression available. Like, and when you handicap your opponent by marking your cards, you are limiting their skill expression because there's no, and you're also limiting your own skill expression because there's no way for you to do as well as you could or for them to do as well as they could if you have more information about your deck than they do.
Correct, 100%. And it's like, it's one of those things where like if you have that conversation with somebody and you're like, hey, Jimmy, your energies are too warped. We need to give you this game loss. Like, please change out your energies before the next game, right?
Mm-hmm.
We play best of threes when we're at this level. Imagine you're on game 3 and you just gave somebody a game loss for warped energies. They just lost the match.
Yeah,
because their energy is warped. Like that's the level of this, and it becomes a thing where like you're gonna get pushback. You're gonna get, somebody's gonna appeal it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you know this, but like whenever you issue these things, like you have to offer an appeal 100% of the time, regardless of what the penalty is, regardless of what whatever the issue or infraction might be. You have to offer an appeal because you're giving a ruling, and they can say, I want to speak to whoever's above you to appeal this, right? So for me, like I give the ruling, they speak to the head judge. Or if I get the ruling approved by the assistant head judge, they get it appealed, it goes to the head judge. Like it could go to as far, it could go as far as the TCG lead, which is above all the head judges. Like it could go that high, you know what I mean? And it becomes one of those things where like you need to understand as a player, I'm doing my job of making sure everybody's playing a fair game.
You guys are the retail workers of the TCG world.
Yeah. And if that means that you can't play with your shiny cards, cry me a river. Like we have to make this fair to everybody. You know what I mean? And if we're having a conversation of, hey, this is going to be a game loss for you, there's an assumption there. And the assumption is you're not cheating. Because if we thought you were cheating doesn't have 3 or 2 different sections that you can give somebody. You don't get a warning for cheating. You don't get a game loss for cheating. You don't even get a match loss for cheating. You get DQ'd if you're found cheating.
That's crazy. Yeah, of course.
It is the maximum punishment that you can receive at an event, right?
Yeah.
So if I find that your cards are warped and I come up to you and I say, hey, listen, the penalty for this infraction is a game loss, you have to know that the assumption there is I don't think you're cheating. Because if I thought you were cheating, this would have gone to my head judge, and my head judge would be standing right here instead of me and issuing you a disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
So and it gets pretty intense.
It's another one of those situations where I imagine the verbiage is super important, and you really have to be intentional with it. Because like that's something I encountered when same match, round 2, I had a judge called over because my opponent went to play his Chorus's Experiment and picked up like the top bit of the deck and like flipped over the top card. And so and the judge, when after the ruling had been kind of decided, he was like, because we can tell this was obviously not intentional, we are just going to issue a warning. Like this is like very clearly you're not trying to cheat. Like it's one of those things where you guys have a hard job as judges between having to keep track of a bunch of games and also, first of all, remembering rulings. That is crazy to me because like in my head, I'm sure there's a flow chart or something somewhere, some kind of infographic that's like minor infraction, warning, whatever.
Yeah, there's
like when does it get to a
sure.
prize loss? But like I am so far from a full understanding of that to me it's just like everything could be a 2 prize loss, like it has I have no idea. So like remembering that, and then also like making sure you're like kind of like gentle parenting these people even when they want to be brats about stuff. It's like, dude, Ooh. It makes me a little nervous for when I do start judging events, but like it's also cool because some of the coolest people you meet in the trading card game, and I imagine in other facets of Pokemon as well, are the judges. Like, did you get a chance to watch Patch of the Peak when it came out?
Not when it came out, but I watched it when I got into the game.
Yeah,
my friends made me sit down to watch it.
Phenomenal series, and you learn so much about. I don't remember the judge's name, but like you feel a connection like that, and it's so cool. And even like just in our interactions at locals and like from any other judge, I remember last year at Charlotte, I sat down for like after I had dropped out of the tournament, I was tilted out of my gourd, and I sit down. And I chat with like just one of the judges sitting there just like talking stuff. And I had a weird question because of course I did because I was being a goober and playing a really like gimmicky deck. I had an Alolan Vulpix V-Star and I wanted to know how the interaction would go up against a Duraludon VMAX even though I had a Wash Energy on Vulpix. And it was like this whole thing we kind of chatted about it. He's like, I don't really know because Vulpix's attack has Shred, but special energy. So there's a whole lot of can and can't overlapping on each other. But he ended up getting back to me. Super cool dude. Saw him at registration, recognized him, and I was like, oh, this is my friend at this tournament. Like I don't know you well. I forgot his name actually, but like I know this is a person that I know is rooting for me as a player. Like, and it's so cool to have that kind of connection inside of the game. People don't forget like the impact the judges have.
Yeah, and of course we try not to show favoritism. Like it's if there's ever a situation where we need to, like, okay, let's say I'm judging Masters and obviously you and the guys are my locals and stuff like that, right? If there's ever a ruling with you guys where I feel like my my bias, right, will get in the way or something like that, it is up to me to have another judge respond to you, basically, right? I can tell somebody, hey, one of them is my locals, I think you should take this, like take this judge call, right? It's just one of those things where like we try to build a strong community, we try to be kind to players and make sure that they are able to trust us as judges, right? Because at the end of the day, like you said, like it's kind of up to us to decide their fate to a degree where like we're following the book, right? But like your head judge can grant you leniency, right? There's
you can show discretion.
When there's gray areas, the handbook tells you examples of like, hey, if this happens, here's what it should be. If this happens, that's what it should be as far as penalties go. But like at the end of the day, you kind of make your best judgment, and like you have more power to do that the higher up you are. Like I have very little power to make that kind of judgment. I have almost no power actually to make that judgment. So it's like it's getting that kind of stuff approved by your head judge for them to go, like it wasn't malicious. Like they didn't intend to do it. Like maybe we don't have to give them a game loss. Maybe a double, like, no, not necessarily like that. But like maybe we don't have to give them a double prize card penalty. Maybe just a warning. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Just to be careful to not do it again. And if it happens again, then it's a DPC. Like that kind of thing. So, but yeah, they're like to get to your further point. Yes, there's a flow chart of sorts that we kind of follow, where it's like, depending on the severity of the issue, we issue certain penalties.
I'd have to have that joint tattooed on me, like right here, so I can just look down. Oh yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
there's just no. I'm sure there is a world where I remember, but like that's a lot to keep track of. Pokemon's a complicated game. People don't think about it. People think about like when you think about complicated games, you think like Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering. But like Pokemon's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Super sick. Oh man, that actually has me so pumped. I kind of want to like get out and judge an event soon. Just from hearing about your experience of it.
Look for locals that you can judge at, dude. That's where you start.
I plan to. Meeple and Buzz City are both starting their league soon. So once those get started up, I plan to hopefully hit both of those.
I decided on making GSG my home. So my Pokemon days are Sundays moving forward.
Oh crap! That means I'm gonna have to stop working Sundays. No, it's cool. Man. Well, where should we go from here? I kind of wanted to talk about like where I went, my experience as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not as glamorous and not as inspiring. I went 252. I decided not to drop this year. Just because last year I dropped it, I was kicking myself for it for the next 3 weeks. But it is what it is. I had a great opening to the morning. I felt awesome because so I took the Rapid Strike VMAX deck, the Inteleon Urshifu deck. Took that up, felt pretty good about it. I felt good about most of my matchups. And I was like, all right, Charizard all day, give it to me. And round 1, immediately Charizard. And I felt so awesome. I was like, I'm on top of the world. I'm winning this whole tournament. And then round 2, I get jump scared. And we've talked about this. I'm facing freaking Isaiah Bradner, which is tough.
Who got 6th place, by the way.
Got 6th place. I'm glad I can make that happen for you, Izzy. But dude, yeah, absolutely crazy. The dude's a champion. Incredible player. He's actually from Charlotte. Did you know that?
I did. Sammy told me, yeah.
Dang, I had no idea. But like I chatted with him because I was like, I'm not winning this game. This is a wash. Let me get a story out of it at least.
Right.
And of course I did. I got a crazy story. The scriptwriters went off with this one because, like I said, we got deck checked right after game 1. And again, like he had to call a judge over from when he went for his Colress's experiment, which was so stressful. I mean, I'm sitting there like just playing with the cards in my hand, waiting for the judge ruling to come back, or like the deck check to come. Well, not playing with the cards when the deck check's happening, but sitting there waiting, and it's a total accumulate of 10 minutes that happens that I'm just sitting here face to face with. Like, for me, it's like, I don't know, obviously, like, I'm not gonna befall any kind of harm, right? But like for me, this is like, oh, I'm about to die here. He might punch me in the teeth effectively. So it's like the stakes are so high, like just looking that guy down, which is crazy because he's very kind, very like soft-spoken, like gentle talking, like chill. He seems like a really chill dude. I actually might try to see if I'm gonna see if I can get an interview with him soon.
There you go.
But like it was just wildly stressful. And then after that, after he whipped me soundly and gave me like another 15 minutes before the next round started, even before time extension, I went down a little bit of a losing streak, wound up playing some real goofiness. Apparently there were not one but 2 people at least in this tournament playing Ice Rider Calyrex. One of those being Horse Girl Hannah, the other being some goon I met. Shout out to Tycho. He is the person I played against who was using it in the bottom brackets when I got down there. It was an interesting deck. Definitely wasn't ready for it, but no one is. You can never prepare yourself for Shadow Rider Calyrex in this economy. But I don't know. It was a cool tournament. I learned a lot about how you need to be present in every single game, like so present, because like
hyper aware.
It's so crazy because like I was playing against Isaiah, and I'm like, I gotta play out of my mind this game, and so like I do my best, whatever, and then I go to my next round, and I'm like, surely this will be easier, right? It's like, no, of course not. This
Certainly
person,
not.
like my opponent that round wasn't like, she didn't have a crown next to her name on Limitless, but she was still an exceptional player playing a matchup that I didn't have a lot of practice with. And like, I got destroyed, and I'm like, well, I can't even be mad. Like, I can't just be mad about it. It was within my control. Like, if anybody's to blame, it's me. Like, it was a tough matchup that I didn't have a lot of practice with, and she just had it, and I gotta respect that. It's really hard to remember how important it is that every opponent you have to think is better than you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you have to go in with the most humility, I think. Where like every opponent could be the next Azul. You know
For sure.
what I mean? Every opponent could be the next best player. Like,
yeah. And that even showed up when I was like playing in later, in like some of the like, I can still come back from this rounds where I played against a Charizard. My best matchup, objectively, my best matchup, other than like maybe Gardevoir, and I still lost. Which is crazy because like
they practice the most against their worst matchups, right? Like,
this is true, but even then, like I felt like I came out with a vengeance against Charizard that tournament, and so I should have had that down. So like again, it's totally on me. Like I misplayed a couple times and had like situations where I just didn't respect my opponents, and it came back to bite me for sure.
Yeah.
But it was still a super fun tournament. For all of my L's that I took in standard, I absolutely brought home the bacon in GLC. I wish I'd gone to the Sunday tournament for GLC because I heard that was a great time.
Matt, it was so good, dude.
Yeah. Didn't you judge that event?
Yeah, it was me, the guy who I told you like was staying with me, who was staff, and then another staff member that we met there. We were running it for most of the time, and then I got pulled away. On Sunday was my most hectic day for sure, because on Sunday I wasn't doing juniors. I was side events exclusively.
Oh, nice.
But I ran the desk, I did pods, I did Ditto drafts, I did GLC, I did raid battles, which I learned what raid battles were this weekend.
Yeah.
And they are the most fun format I've ever played.
They seem like it.
So they're super, super cool. And I have an oversized Roaring Moon, so I can make that actually a thing, which is super cool.
That's so sick.
But yeah, my Sunday was all over the place. But
like the large cards, the jumbos?
Yeah, exactly. Those are the raid
let me
bosses.
know if you need. Oh, sick. I have a couple of those if you need any.
There you go. But yeah, so the GLC event was fantastic. I spent a lot of time watching Sky, who is like our local GLC god, right?
He's a champion. He's
Sky,
nuts.
Matt, and Amelia were all playing close to me. Yeah, and I got to watch all of them play. That was cool.
That's so sick. Dude, is there any like weird different stuff that comes up when you're judging for GLC than in standard?
Dude, rulings that you wouldn't even think of come up in GLC.
Yeah.
They looked at me and they were like, "Do you play GLC?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have a dragon deck." And he was like, "Okay, cool, you're staffing GLC." I was like, "What?" That was the whole conversation. That's
so sick.
It was a lot of thankfully, Pokemon cards have been written well for a very long time.
Oh, so, thank God.
At least I haven't run into it. I'm sure Sky could think of something if we gave him the challenge to do it. But I haven't run into a situation where simply reading the card just resolves the issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had one person ask me, this isn't GLC exclusive, but it was like, hey, my item says I do 10 more damage and my attack does 0 damage. Like it's a no damage attack. Right. Do I do 10 damage? And I'm like, no, you can't do 10 more damage than no damage. Like it's not that doesn't how it works. So
0 damage.
Like, again, not a GLC exclusive thing, but it came up, you know.
Yeah, those things are weird. Yeah, there's also just such strange things, especially with GLC, because you see cards that are never going to see play in standard. In my water deck, I play the Rapid Strike Starmie that you can discard any amount of energy for it, and for each energy card that you discard, it does 30 damage to however many Pokemon, which is a sick attack. I wish you would see play in standard, but like you have to think of all these interactions of like, well, if Parallel City's in play, like it's just gonna do nothing every time, or like
right
if you discard like a reversal energy off of it, that's still only 1 technically because it's for each energy card discarded in this way. Like so many strange things. GLC is such a cool format, man. I love that tournament I played against. I went 3-0, made some cool friends out of it. I forget, who did I play first? I felt so bad actually. My first game was a donk. I was able to donk the Water Mirror playing the Rapid Strike Wishy-Washy, which is not a great card, but it's fun in like a Rapid Strike build, and being able to just swing for like enough to knock out her Alolan Vulpix turn 1 was pretty sick. And then to go on and mill out a Fairy Control player felt awesome. There was like a crowd who formed kind of around us. I felt like such the main character at that moment because we were the last ones because obviously it's the fairy control deck. You're going into time.
Right.
And so we're down to like this much deck. And I'm able to like, and I even like joked around. And I was like, "Oh, this is the part where I bust out the Wug Trio and mill the rest of your deck." and everyone, we're laughing about it. But then I think like, all right, well, we're in turns. I'm turn 2. He's turn 3. I just have to last long enough that he doesn't mill me out. So let me get this big hand I have back into my deck, and hope that I live through the turn. So I play an Iono. And he's still got 5 prize cards left. And he's got not 5 cards in deck. So he shuffles, or he ends up drawing his whole deck out off of Iono, and I did mill him out, which felt insane. Yep. And then I played against a really hard psychic deck with a really good pilot for the final for the 3-0, and it felt really, really good. Because I have not played against that deck, and it's tough. The psychic spread deck, it's a good deck. And I also have never played GLC competitively, so it was pretty crazy.
Yep. I only know how to hit for 160. That's my whole deck. Hit for 160 swing. And then get a really well-timed Garchomp wins games.
There you go. Yeah, 160 is a big number. That's a big number in GLC. Maybe the biggest number, actually. Other than like the 220 you're hitting
more
off
dragons,
of
though.
Yeah, there needs to be more dragons. It makes me sad.
When did that Garchomp come out? Brilliant Stars or something?
I want to say that's the Sonic Slip Garchomp.
Yeah,
I think that's Brilliant Stars. Let me see. Hold on, let me pull that up. Which one of these mice is the one that controls the monitor? In front of me?
It is Brilliant Stars. Yes.
Okay, you just had it faster than me. That's fine. Yeah,
it's a
crazy
10-cent card,
times. Bro. 10 cents, and it's still played like that. So sick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. But yeah, we've kind of gone over both of our experiences. I mean, we don't have to dwell too much on, like, I don't want to drag out the my performance aspect of it just because I'm not as proud as it, not super proud of it. But let's talk about this tournament because it was, for being the biggest one literally ever.
Mm-hmm.
It shows because the deck diversity is outstanding. Top 8. I mean, it was a lot of Lost Tina. Like a lot of Lost Tina and Charizard.
There 3 Lost Tina decks in top 8. A Lost Zone, just like a Sableye deck.
Yeah, the Sablezard.
Miraidon.
Was it Miraidon?
The one Guardy, dude. I can't believe Guardy made it into top 8 still.
I know. With all those Charizard running around, you have to be like, how did that even happen? And I want to see. I'm looking. I've got the list in front of me.
I'm pretty sure Gustavo made top 4, right?
Yeah, Gustavo made 3rd place.
Gustavo lost to Vinny in top 4.
Really? Wait.
Yeah.
With the team. Oh, that's crazy. I'm curious as to how that even happened. I would have to watch that replay because I'm trying to even see like in Gardevoir how you tech against that the Charizard, the Roaring Moon, and there's nothing about it. It's such a standard looking Gardevoir list. Mm-hmm. So it makes no sense to me how it got as far as it did, but it just shows you kind of like how good of a player Gustavo is.
You know what's crazy, dude? In day 1, obviously there's far more decks, right? There was 2,100 decks in day 1 versus the 200 decks of day 2,
which is crazy. 2,100 decks is a lot of decks.
Yeah, there were 162 Guardy decks, so it was 7.6% of the showing in day 1. And 24 of them survived enough to get to day 2.
24.
11% of day 2 was Guardy, which
that's crazy.
Being over 10% for a deck that old is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Deck that old, and then Mew VMAX is right there next to it.
And then Mew VMAX had the exact same stats.
Speaking of old decks, dude,
that deck won't die until it rotates out.
No, I'm still so amazed that it even got like top 16 because everybody had their guns out from you. Like, it was the weird combo build that had 2 Fusion Strike energy just for the people who are still playing Spiritomb.
Yeah.
2 Box of Disaster is crazy, and I don't think there's no Roxanne in here, which is insane to me because I feel like Roxanne is like, if there's any card to play at Mew, it's probably Roxanne, or any deck that should play Roxanne is probably Mew, and yet it's nowhere to be seen. It's just so cool that I don't know. I like Mew. Mew's actually like this is what I bought the prize tickets from the GLC wins. That's my boy right there. It's so I like the deck. It's cool that it's still got legs, even though how many cards have been printed to just be. Left. There's so many cards that have just been like
the amount of Drapions.
Mew specifically, Drapion, Spiritomb, Path of the Peak was probably originally printed for Mew as well. You know what I mean?
I imagine so. Yeah.
Like, and then
one thing I did want to talk about was, and this is the perfect segue because it's half Mew news and half Miraidon news. Andrew Mahone performed exceptionally well on Saturday, and he gave a big shout out to his Baltimore Ravens. He's like, if the Ravens can win and I can win, everything is right in the world. And then he went into day 2, and I think he won maybe 2 more games tops, and then unfortunately got the shaft.
Yeah.
Andrew, still, of course, being one of my favorite players. Oh, for sure, dude, for sure. He's one of my favorite players. I follow him all the time. He doesn't intimidate me. He has a very serious face. He like I told him this in his chat. I told him that he has a not very approachable face.
It's true.
He looks very serious.
He's got RBF for sure.
I don't want to interrupt his thought processes, even if he's thinking about cotton candy and unicorns. I don't want to interrupt him.
Dude, can I tell you a secret? What about his face? I was filming. I was in line
about his face.
Tangentially about his face. I was in line for day 1 for the actual like rounds, and I was like just recording for the vlog, and like I see, oh crap, he's in my line. When we circle back, I'm gonna try to see if I can get him to say hey to the camera, and I have never felt so bad about trying to get someone's attention that I admire, because like he looked up like after a delay, he's like, huh, oh hey, and it like. He looked like I just interrupted maybe him like the birth of his child. Like, he looked furious, and I was like, "Dude, I got to apologize. That was so inappropriate."
And that's just his face, bro. I'm sure he's the nicest guy ever. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I'm certain of this, but in the moment, I was like, "I suck," and he's mad at me.
I was rooting when I heard about his performance after day 1. When I heard he was basically undefeated day 1, I think he was like 6-0-1 or 6-0-2, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the stats were, but pretty sure he was undefeated. Anyway, I was like, he's going to take this, dude. He's taking Mew VMAX all the way, bro.
I would have been so hyped for that.
And I cried, And then on the other side of the coin, the deck that maybe he should have tried playing is Miraidon,
which had a great showing.
Day 1, which I thought, okay, so I thought people were like, oh, we're going to see so much Miraidon day 1, blah, 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 blah. I was like, dude, like, no way. Like, you're going to see the same amount of Miraidon as you see, anything else. Like, it's just this prominent deck. No big deal. 256 people showed up with Miraidon on day 1.
Yeah. That's a sixth of the tournament.
Yep. That was 12%. And then day 2 happened, and it went from 256 to a whopping 16.
Not even on the graphic. Like,
yeah.
Man.
16 people brought their Miraidon decks into day 2, and
one of them got top 4.
Yeah, Ryan did a phenomenal job. Listen, Ryan did a phenomenal job, and this is nothing against Ryan. He's a phenomenal player. Miraidon just can't close, dude.
No, it's such a difficult deck.
Close. Yeah,
you do kind of have to high roll and hope that you're not getting like those really intricate and complex decks that are going to be able to like, oh, cool, you used MP very much for 2 prizes. Yeah. I'm just gonna come back. I'm gonna Lost Zone the Iron Hands, and I'm gonna get back on my grind, and I'm gonna still win this prize race.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine who puts it perfectly. He says that Miraidon is always piloting at a 7 out of 10. Always. Yeah. Good day, bad day, regular day, whatever day it is, whatever day of the week, every day that ends in Y, Miraidon is a strong 7, right?
Yep.
The problem is, it's always a 7.
Always.
So if your opponent gets anything higher than a 7, you lose.
You're cooked. Yeah, you're just done.
So, and then the problem with that, of course, is that Giratina looks through so much of its deck.
Oh my gosh!
They find the 8 and the 9 and the 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They prize 3 Tina Vs and still win the game.
They'll do it to you. Yeah.
I really need to touch on the fact that has now happened in 2 regional finals back to back.
Yeah, please do. Because I didn't see a lot of the finals.
If you go back and watch Portland's finals when John won, and you go back to watch this last finals where Vinny won, they both had a game in their finals match when they prized all 3 Tina V-Stars. And if not V-Stars, sorry, Tina V's, regular Tina V's.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, it was also the last game of both matches. I have to go back to confirm this, but I'm almost sure it was the last game of both matches, and they both won those games.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and Vinny had them both at the bottom. I don't know. Okay, he took a knockout with Cramorant, and it drew him one of them because they were both at the bottom for Vinny. So no matter which one he took, he was going to get one. But for John, there were 2 in the middle and 1 in the top corner. So he had to go through 2 other prizes to even get the Tina. It was freaking brutal.
Which to the strength of Tina, like I guess you can kind of do that because you've got, I mean, other than Tina, you just got 1 prizers, so you can kind of make that tempo play. But still, if I see 3 Tina in if I check my deck and I see that all 3 are in the prize, I'm scooping. I'm going to game 2.
Bro, you go to game 2. Yeah, but if it's game 3, you have to play it out.
It's not my day, bro.
If it's game 3, you have to play it out.
I feel like if I'm in the finals, and that's just me, obviously I probably would play it out. But like in my head, from where I'm sitting, I'm like, if it's the finals and all 3 of my dudes didn't show up to work, it's just not my tournament to win.
They don't want to win, bro. It's fine. It's not that deep.
I'll take second place, bro. Just give me the 7K instead of the 10, and I'll go home
and call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at with Miraidon. I think it's a great deck, but it just doesn't have enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can get you started like a maniac. It's the best deck at getting started, right up there with Roaring Moon. And it's really good at maintaining it for a certain amount, right? But the second you have to Raichu, or the second your opponent starts to target like the mon that you put your energy on, it's game over. Because
for sure,
you play 1 Super Rod at most, and by the time you play the Super Rod, you've used 3 of your generators. So what are you really realistically doing? You know.
It also does have the benefit, though, and I think it was either JW Krewall or Jesse, I forget Jesse's last name, who said that they said this on Tag Team, where they're like, it's also just like the least stressful deck to play, because like where everybody else, like where Gardevoir has to do all this work just to get an attacker online, I just like have to dice roll the generator, and then if I've got it, I got it, and like I'm sure that when I've played Miraidon to locals and other tournaments, like it's felt exactly like that, where it's like, I can beat a 7 100% of the time. And
I was gonna play, I was gonna play Miraidon if I hadn't gotten the staff invite,
dude.
Like 100%.
It's a good deck to just be like, I'm coasting. I'm here for a good time. I'm here to play games.
It is what it is. However it performs, it performs. Moon needs to be talked about. I think. Moon, I think Moon is so close, dude. I
was not expecting it to do as well as it did, and I'm surprised by it. I'm a little upset because I'm a hater. I'm a Roaring Moon hater for sure.
What do you mean, dude? That card's so good.
It's crazy to me that we went from like one Unga Bunga deck in Miraidon to like, here's the same thing but in a darker color, but also somehow better. It's cool. Like it is very much like the cool factor. Yeah, go ahead.
Sada's Vitality doesn't need to draw you 3 cards. If they had made Sada's attach up to 2 energy and then draw 1 or draw 2, it would have been good. The fact that they said draw 3, dude, that's crazy.
I always forget about that aspect of the card. Maybe it's because I don't play Moon, but like anytime I see that happen, I'm like, oh crap, that card's really good.
Yeah,
because it's like
you play it and they attach the energy and you think it's over, and then they reach for their deck and draw 3 cards.
Oh, what? Like, what are you doing, dude? Judge? It's like, what is this guy doing? It's like, read the card, dude. Oh, so he just gets to also draw 3 cards because that's on an ice spec now. The Intemporal Forces, the future one. It's like, you can do that for your future guys now, I guess, as an item, but once a game and you're not drawing cards. So the fact that you can play that card 4 times, more times than that, honestly, if you run the Palpat, I mean, you're probably not doing well if you have to play it 4 times, but you can play that card so much. And like with Countercatcher in the format, it's just a formula for this deck that chugs and sees so many cards, even though like Tina sees a lot of cards, obviously. Gardevoir sees a lot of cards, obviously. But the other like big, I'm just going to swing deck in Miraidon doesn't draw cards ever. So being able to have that is so good for the deck. And it's part of why
the Peony list embraces that.
I think that's true, yeah. I'm still iffy on the Peony list. I've been out of Miraidon tech for a long time, but like it's still
it's like you said, right? Like you don't draw a lot of cards, right? You get one extra card per turn on fleet-footed. Yeah, and then if you just embrace I'm not drawing extra cards, Peony generator. Peony, you know what I mean? Like
you just ascend.
I already have no cards. I might as well just vomit energy.
Yeah, I can't get negative cards.
Exactly. So
they're just pre-teching for the hand clippers.
Yeah. Let's see. Moon had 205 at the start of the tournament and ended with 30. So it ended with more decks than Guardy, Mew, and Miraidon going into day 2.
So impressive. Now that doesn't account for the Lost Zone, does it?
What? No. Lost Zone.
It doesn't account for the Lost Zone variants that have, because I know a couple of people. Actually, one of the guys who I play with at Meeple, he played the Lost Moon.
Yeah,
and he got.
I like Lost Moon a lot. The Tord pile type list of like 1 Moon, 1 Greninja, 1 Raikou, I think it is. Like just like one-ofs of these like really strong mons that you're just like vomiting energy to. I think those kind of like lists are really good, especially with cards like Sada's Vitality, where like they get you the energy and then draw you the cards, right? They fuel you like that. And then the consistency of the Lost Box engine is ridiculous. So like
it's so
of course
good.
I'm putting the Lost Box engine with a card that one-shots your guy. Like it's my Giratina. Yep. That's what it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
it's Giratina, but in some respects better.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's controversial to say.
Right.
Giratina, you gotta get rid of your energy permanently from the game. But like Roaring Moon, you just swing big, keep your energy, and what happens? They knock you out in return like they were gonna do anyway?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I think post rotation Moon has it has it already, but it'll be more post rotation, the potential to be legitimately the best deck of the format. Like I think right now Tina's seeing a lot of success, right? I think like so many people are playing Tina that it can't do poorly. It's like oversaturated almost, right?
Yeah.
And
it's, accuracy by volume of fire.
So you're right. And there's so much skill involved in playing that deck where like if you know what you're doing, you win all the time, right? We get that. But I don't think that's enough to call it the best deck in the format.
I would agree.
I think the best deck in the format currently is still Charizard. I think Zard is a menace to everyone. And I think like we very much see Pokemon's favoritism here. But I think Moon is a close second for sure.
Moon's got a lot of potential. And I'm pulling up some of the speaking of post rotation, like I'm curious as to see how it's going to evolve even further when all these other really cool looking ancient Pokemon come out, because I'm looking right now at, for instance, like the Baby Moon. I just had him. Baby Moon does for darkness and 3 colorless, that's 120, which is kind of a lot for a 1-prizer. But then but the main attack on this card, Vengeful Feathers, does 70 plus 10 for each ancient card in your discard. That's every Sada. That's every like other Pokemon that's in your discard pile. That's every trainer, supporter, like anything that's in there.
Dude,
that
give
is
me
an
ancient energies, bro.
Give
me ancient special energies, dude.
You know they won't, because the minute they do, Lugia is gonna go bananas.
Give me an ancient and a future special energy.
I want it so bad. I want it so bad. I'm right there with you.
So fast, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, because it's exactly that. Like, because there's what else is there? There's the Great Tusk that comes out. There's the Koraidon. Primeval Battering does 30 so it's a maximum of 180 for a fighting and a colorless. And then you've got Shred on a one prizer for ancient Pokemon. Like Roaring Moon's gonna get good because they're gonna see a lot of Pokemon that we like are gonna have to start playing around Roaring Moon, and there's gonna be like these wall decks that we see. And dude, being able to have that Shred on a one prizer is so sick. And just
what are we gonna do in a format without rope?
Cry. We're gonna play Switch. We're gonna play Switch, and we're gonna play Iron Bundle, I guess.
Dude, like Snorlax is getting buffed this rotation so much, and I hate it. I am so happy. We haven't talked about the decks that didn't show up in top 8 or that didn't show up in day 2. The fact that Snorlax saw almost no success brings joy to my heart.
Dude. Absolutely. I'm a big Snorlax hater.
There is a difference between control. In the format, though. No. There's a difference between control and toxicity. A control deck to me is something like imagine if there was like a Gengar deck or the Bayonet deck, right? Controlling your opponent's hand.
The item
you can't use these types of cards, whatever. But like they're sacrificing having to use a really crappy attack in order to keep you locked, right? Or having a really crappy mon out to keep you locked. And it's like the moment they switch out of that, it's a fair game. You know what I mean?
If you've ever played that turn deck, where it feels terrible to have to give up the item lock.
It's awful, right? So and you have one turn now where it's a fair game. So it's like, okay, how can I take advantage of this? And now you have that, like, you're on almost like a timer to think of a way out. You know what I mean? And that's different from like the amount of times I've watched juniors and seniors at a regional level just draw pass.
I could not imagine a junior playing that deck.
With joy on their faces, dude. They're happy to trigger you. Drop pass.
I feel like no shot. Kids who play, if there's a junior playing Snorlax control, they should not be playing Pokemon. That is a terrifying kind of child right there.
Somebody who's getting coached by a master who's telling them to play Snorlax. That's what that is.
Sure. If I was a kid and I played against Snorlax doll, I'm fighting you after the match. Yeah. I'm getting in a fist fight. Which, to be fair, it still got 10th place. Which is insane. But, I mean, in the same sentence, Arceus got 9th. So we can't all chalk it up to like, oh, it's really good.
I don't think Arceus is as bad as people say it is, dude.
I agree. I'm still lost. The Regigigas is lost on me. I don't know. I know the card is good, but, like, when?
When? Exactly.
Like, when is that good?
How do you do it? Like, show me the trick, please.
Yeah, dude. It's like, let me watch your matches so I know when is this an appropriate card to play. Because I pulled a Regigigas V-Star and I was like, oh, this is a Regigigas V-Star. This is definitely a Regigigas that got printed. Oh, it's certainly in the format. That's to be sure. Oh, man. Another weird deck that made top 16. Daniel Fabiano with Entei Iron Valiant.
Which that's the deck that Sky was going to take in.
Really?
Why?
I just... It astonishes me that people call Miraidon such a high roll deck that has like very little endgame when Entei Iron Valiant is just as guilty. If not more so. I'd say Entei Iron Valiant has almost no kind of endgame. Like, because at the most, like, you have Radiant Charizard once, and there's because other than that, they're just gonna take another like 2-prizer unless you're able to get it back, which this list does not play. Like a Clara. There's not even, I don't see a Super Rod in here. Yeah, there's no Super Rod. It's just the one of Radiant Charizard, hoping that you get lucky. Which, I mean, it paid off. Kudos to him.
Yeah. It's you don't want to play it down until you need it. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely an endgame thing.
I don't know. It's always weird to me. I'm sure it's an awesome deck. I've never played it. I'd like to at some point. But it's cool. It's cool to see that there's this much variety above all else, like in the top cut.
Yeah. I play it on ladder every once in a while when I'm bored.
I'm sure it's like great for like a rush. Yeah, where it's like, oh, this felt awesome.
Just you like kill somebody on the first turn one time and you put it away. That's
a little dopamine hit. Yeah. Remind everybody you got to bench 2 guys now.
Yeah. You're never safe.
Never safe. And then like, how many is this? 3 Roaring Moon in top 16 is super cool. An Arceus deck even being present is sick. I really hope that there's a little more growth from Arceus in the future. I want to see Alolan Vulpix. Like I'm huffing copium for that card every single time. I think it's gonna come back. I really think it is, at least like in an arc pile or like something, because it has some cool potential. With, I mean, outside of Giratina, you've got Charizard, you've got Gardevoir, you've got Miraidon, you've got a lot of like these big hitters. Obviously, Roaring Moon is different, but like a lot of decks play attackers that have abilities, and when you are just immune to that noise, it feels pretty good.
Yep. You know what I saw a lot of at Charlotte, and I don't know if it was junior division specific or what. Goldango.
I saw a lot of that too. I heard a lot about
Goldango it. I think Goldango is seeing a little bit of a resurgence here. Definitely. Where like people tried it out at first and they were like, like it's hit or miss, whatever. Like it's not really that strong against anything. It's only super effective against Chien-Pao, like, what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And then it did pretty well. Like
it got 30th place.
Yeah.
Which is astonishing. I love the Palkia in there. Just because I'm a Palkia stan, but like,
dude, that's the list now. It's crazy.
Yeah, because it did what? It won like a Champions League in Japan, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I played against one of these, and you're never prepared for it. I don't think there's anything you can do to prepare for that deck because every time
Chien-Pao without the Miraidon weakness.
Yeah, exactly, and it's also without the issue of like having to have a Baxcalibur set up because it comes from your hand and not just on the bench or like on your attacker.
That's the whole reason you play it over Chien-Pao.
Potent. It's so potent because they'll blow your guy up, and then even if you respond to like, oh, your Goldango's gone, it's like, that's okay. I'll get another one and then get my energy back with 1 energy retrieval, like superior energy retrieval, and I'll blow your next guy up. And for when I'm playing a VMAX deck or when Charizard is one of the primary threats because it's so big, you get so much value out of just being like, that's a lot of health you have there. Not for long.
It'd be a shame.
it'd be such a shame if it was reduced to 0. Yeah.
Dude, and like, I don't know, it's such a good deck, I think, in my opinion. I think that deck is going to see a lot of love post-rotation as well. Just the draw, too. Like, your attacker is also your draw engine, bro.
So good.
Active or benched, you see at least 1 card. Yeah. Like, that's crazy, man.
There was a fairy type that did that as well that I learned about in the GLC game. Like, being able to draw cards like that is so good. Yeah. Just being able to draw your card, because then you don't have to play Bibarel. You're not wasting a bench slot. You don't have to wait for that thing to evolve. Well, I mean, that's
another Greninja instead. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah. Oh my
gosh. Greninja, it's your Palkia line, whatever.
It's so good. And being able to, because like, think about how good 2 cards off the top is. Like, Radiant Greninja has been the default Radiant card since its inception, because it's like, oh, just get rid of an energy, the most like available resource in the game, and you can see 2 more cards. Like, that's so good, and you can do it a maximum of 4 times a turn if you're like switching out your guys like a madman.
Yeah.
Busted.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I don't think it's like best deck in format by any chance, but like, it's good. It's scary good.
It's got contention, bro. It's got
consistency. It's got pieces that make it move in ways you're not expecting. Like and it also doesn't lose a whole lot of anything. What does it lose here? It loses It loses nothing.
Rope.
Oh, it loses rope and cross switchers.
Oh no, not my cross switchers.
Which feels bad, but it's also like counter catcher. Just put it in there.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
Everything else is good. You switch your battle VIP pass for the buddy poppin', and like throw in a ditto, I guess. Like if you really need to. So good. And it doesn't even run like an outrageous amount of energy. It's not like, because there's other like decks where you discard a bunch of energy where it's like you got to run like 32 for the Kyurem VMAX deck. But like, this one's just like, nah, just 4 metal, 6 water.
Yeah.
4 metal, 6 water. It's that easy.
Done.
So sick. I like that deck a lot. Golden Go's a cool design. I have an affinity for like the goober like designs. Like I love Inteleon's design. I love Genesect, who just looks like a goblin. I love Golden Go looking somewhere between Silver Surfer and
string cheese.
The string cheese guy. Like it's sick. It's super cool. I love all of that. Yeah, dude. Absolutely incredible showing from a lot of decks here. Oh man. And I'm kind of surprised to see like even as much Mew as we did. Because in what was it, San Antonio was the most recent regional, or was that Portland? Portland, right?
Portland, yeah.
Portland had an incredible Mew showing. I didn't think that we were gonna still see Mew in top 16. And Perfect was like, all right, put the Drapion back in. We're done. Yeah. We're done teching for that deck. And then it showed up and it showed out.
Yep.
There are other
people
like
expect to not see Mew, so they take the checks out.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is still crazy because Spiritomb is a good card to play for other decks than just Mew. People are playing Spiritomb for Charizard now, for Miraidon, for all these other decks, and it's still showing up and showing out, which is so cool. Are there any other lists that you are intrigued by or like want to go over before we kind of move on to the next thing?
Not really. Nothing we didn't cover already.
Cool. Sweet. Oh wait, hold on. This one I have to talk about before we move on. At 106th place, Anthony Bruno played Zoroark box. And it is something to behold, dude. I love Zorobox. I think it's cool. I like how for a little while, if you played the right cards, you could get like just like the really cool arts, like the Electivire and the Mightyena. But this list is really interesting because it plays one of the Mag Cargo from Lost Origin. Now, off the top of your head, can you tell me what this Mag Cargo does?
Of course not, dude. But now I'm looking right at it. So put all energy attached to this Pokemon in the Lost Zone for 220.
And using for 220. That's a lot of damage. And I'm curious as to why. Okay,
so this deck is like Gudra in a sense, right? Where you're just like teching a bunch of one-ofs to abuse them.
It's closer to Regidrago, in that sense. But yeah, you're teching a million one-ofs where you can just switch them out. And then
that's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. You're good. But yeah, you're switching them out from the discard, and then you're swinging with those. It's got the optimal Scovillain in there with a super spicy breath attack where it can swing for 180 and knock out Charizard in one go, which is silly, by the way. In case anybody was wondering, that's silly. I'm curious to see as to why the Mag Cargo rather than the Cetitan, because the Cetitan also swings for 220. With the one special energy, and you don't have to put it in the Lost Zone.
Right.
But it's cool because it makes your opponent be like, "Hey, what's that right there?
What is that?
What do you got right there? What's that little snail fella? What's he doing?" And then the Scyther Scizor Cleavor combo is kind of sick too. I wonder what the Cleavor was.
This deck is $23, dude.
Yeah, bananas. That this deck is. This is the same cost as like. Oh, I need new headphones or like a new phone charger. Let me go buy this deck that got like top 110 in the region.
It's so funny.
I love it. The most expensive, literally half the deck is those 4 Iono. That's insane to me. But yeah, it's super cool. It's a fun gimmick deck. I'm a big fan of it. But I think that's all I wanted to talk about before we move on to the next thing. Which is kind of what we think is going to happen like going forward. We got a lot of silliness going on with Charlotte, and the next tournament is what, Knoxville in like a week or two.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to be like there. Based off of this top 8, what really keeps Giratina in check as a deck? And I think that's like a big question for the TCG as a whole.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know the answer, dude. I think I Charizard has a really good, I don't want to say matchup, but Charizard does well against Cena.
Yeah, if there's anything that's going to do well against Cena, it's probably Charizard. I hesitate to say Lugia, but I think that might low key be an option.
Don't get my hopes up, bro.
No, I'm serious. So like colorless Lugia, between having your one prize attacker in Snorlax swinging for 180 every turn, and being a one prizer, which is huge, and then or even single strike Lugia for that matter. I think Lugia decks in general have a great opportunity to do super, super well because, for starters, there's a world where you play the Duraludon VMAX, which means that there's circumstances where how often when you're playing Giratina do you send up a Tina with the Jet Energy after Mirage getting to it? And so you've got to swing with that one. If Duraludon's in the active, you're not getting that attack off unless you're using your restart power. Right. And then like just the sheer damage output.
But if you restart power the Duraludon VMAX, you win the game.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And like when that happens, it happens. You just go to the next game and then you're going from there. But like being able to swing for 180, being able to pick off bench slots, being able to rack up damage like that. And even if you go the single strike route, using Cragalanche to just discard resources like that is so potent. And we haven't seen anything like that in like a while, just because mill effects outside of Snorlax haven't been really printed into decks that are worth anything. Right. Which also makes me excited because we're getting, I want to say, an ancient Pokemon with Cragalanche on it, which is going to make Roaring Moon, like we were talking about, even cooler. Because it's going to be able to do both of those things. But
yeah,
other than Lugia and Charizard, like I'm hard pressed to think of a deck that's really going to keep Tina in control. So I think I'm worried that Knoxville is just going to be almost like a repeat of Charlotte. And maybe I'm being closed-minded about that. What do you think?
Listen, I think if somebody can fine-tune Roaring Moon well enough, it takes the whole thing. Because I have watched too many Tina players struggle to get a second Tina built after their first one.
Yeah, that's probably
like true. It happens so frequently, in my opinion, that like if you could get one Gouging Frenzied off, good luck building another one. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like take your two prizes now, I win the game later. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, you do run out of steam really quick with Tina. And I think that's one area where it's like, for all of its flaws, like Roaring Moon is also a super low maintenance deck. Your attacker is pretty low maintenance because you know that it's getting knocked out in return. So you just get to be like, well, whatever, I'm just going to take you with me. And I'll take my prizes first because you won't knock me out until afterwards. And we're good. So I could totally see a world where Roaring Moon does become like the winner in that regard. Do you think we'll see Charizard go down?
What do you mean go down?
Like in usage, in performance.
Oh, I think Charizard is gonna stay right where he's at. Charizard saw the highest percent coming into day one of Charlotte, and stayed as the second most used deck in day two.
Yeah,
like Charizard's
had a really good conversion rate, having 32 in day two.
Yeah, Azul's deck list being copy and pasted basically 100 or 362 times. Like it's inevitable. You know what I mean? Like when you're that good at the game and you talk like he talks a lot on Twitter about how you don't need to win regionals to be a credible source in Pokemon, and like how you can be a good coach and a good player like separately. Like you don't need to have a regional under your belt to be a good coach, because you don't need to be, you can have a fundamental understanding of the game and its intricacies without being a without being able to sit down and do it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't sit down and perform like Azul, but I can tell you why Azul performs the way that he does.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I can sit here, I can analyze Azul's gameplay with you. You know what I mean? Like, there's a distinct difference between that, where like you can teach somebody. I think he said it on a video that he did, where like, as long as you're not, or as long as you don't get over, as long as you don't, what's the phrasing he used? You can't outgrow your coach is basically his gist. I think, right? Okay. Or like, if you outgrow your coach, obviously, like, you can still learn from them, but nowhere near to the degree as before. So it's like, if your coach is somebody who understands the fundamentals of the game, then they'll teach you the fundamentals of the game. If there's somebody who understands like an intermediate level understanding, they'll teach you that. Like, if it's somebody like Azul who can tell you exactly what's going through his mind when he draws a certain card, like, that's a whole different ballgame, you know?
True.
But it's hard to coach Tina because Tina's a lot of on-the-fly decisions and a lot of 2 cards or 4 cards or 5 cards that, like, you're not going to get this combination of cards for another 4 games.
True.
You know what I mean?
One thing, that's another thing about Tina. Tina, often you'll get like those top 5 cards, or like, because Tina is such a linear deck from the top to the bottom, other than like the occasional nest ball or like Pokegear, you're not like shuffling up. You're just like, however the cards stack up, they're all that way. There's a lot of room for Tina to kind of slip up, which feels terrible when you're on that side of it, but it also means there's a lot of room for like other decks to capitalize on it. And I think that's good for the game as a whole to keep that deck in check, because honestly, it's been a good deck since it came out. I think like when Silver Tempest format came out, dude, you're so lucky you didn't have to play that format. It was miserable. But obviously, like with Lugia V-Star and its inception being so good, it's tough for a deck like Lost Tina to shine. And you kind of saw that in the tournament results that it did and didn't get back then.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you're seeing Tina where there's room with Lugia kind of out of the picture, where there's not as many things picking off your guys and getting rid of your resources. You're kind of coasting. It's in a really good spot. One other thing about the Charizard, I think it's really cool that we're starting to see this small sect of Charizard users include the TM Devolution in their decks. I think that's a really sick tech card.
It's for that mirror, dude.
It's so good.
It's so good for the
being
mirror.
Able to devolve Charizards is one of the finer things in life, I think.
Especially as Charizard.
Dude, yeah. It's like Mew using Path to the Peak all over again is like you become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Yeah.
It's so potent. Oh man. Okay. I'm trying to think. I guess that's kind of so for Knoxville then. What do you over under for top 8, right? Do you think we'll see more or less than 3 Lost Tinas in top 8?
I'm calling 2 Lost Tinas in top 8.
2 Lost Tinas in top 8.
Hold me to this.
Yeah. Let me get a pen. I didn't come prepared for this part. 2 Lost Tina. Top 8.
2 Lost Tinas. I'm calling 3 Roaring Moons right now.
3 moons, bro?
3 moons, 2 Tinas.
I hate to agree with you on that. I really do. But I think there's a world where you're right. I think Gardevoir probably gets snuffed out for a lot.
Gardevoir's out. I think we see 1
done.
or 2 Zards.
Yeah, for sure. I think also I'm excited for maybe a world where Arctina shows back up for like a tournament.
The guy who won with Gyarados wasn't that just a Tina list with Gyarados in it?
I think it was. And it was
like,
just
was
a
1-1.
Not
just Tina with Gyarados?
I'm pretty sure. And also like the Gyarados sometimes just never showed up. It was mostly just an Arceus deck.
Arceus, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
it was just straight up Arceus. No,
just
nothing
vanilla
in
Arceus deck. Oh, Gyarados is my favorite Pokemon. I just put a Gyarados in there. Why not?
Throw him in there. He's cool.
Yeah. And then he had that one turn. I'll never forget that one turn where he could have used was it Thrash? What attack is on regular Gyarados V?
Hold up. Let me pull this up.
It's like you get X power equal to the number of something. I think it's like a second attack or something.
Well, if it will ever load right here. What is it? Get Angry, where it does 20 damage for each damage counter, I think. Wow, HD images, where are you? Yeah, 28 for each damage counter on it.
Yeah, he could have gotten Angry to win the game or to get a knockout, and he misplayed and evolved it instead, bro.
Dang, that's insane. Also, imagine announcing, I'm going to get Angry for game.
Yeah. I'm going to use Get Angry for a knockout.
Wild.
Crazy, dude.
Because Arceus decks are still good. Like, I don't think Arceus is a dead archetype, per se.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of hope for it. It's just that, like, we're slowly running out of Vs, and Vs are slowly getting, like, irrelevant. And the last couple of Vs that they have introduced, the Zacian and Zamazenta in Crown Zenith, terrible cards. Terrible cards.
So, do you think we're going to go into, like, an EX-only format?
I think we'll get there eventually. I think, like, outside of where you see Pidgeot V for, like, Sablezard, or, like, the occasional Luminion because they haven't reprinted that effect on an EX yet. Like, outside of those things, that we're kind of in an EX-only format. Other than Giratina and, like, the random Arceus. And, of course, like, after rotation, it's for sure going to be, like, you're not going to see a V. Choice Belt. Yeah. It's always been wild to me that they reprinted Choice Belt in Scarlet Violet base set, because that card isn't relevant once everything before Scarlet Violet rotates out.
Yeah. It was relevant. It was relevant in Mew. Mew played the Choice Belt, dude.
Right, but, like, why print it in Scarlet Violet base?
That's true. I don't know.
There weren't any Vs in Scarlet Violet base.
I don't think they think about these things.
Maybe not. But yeah. I think that's totally a real possibility, though. I think especially after rotation, when Mew is gone, when Zamazenta from Celebrations is gone, that's a lot of guys to get rid of. When Inteleon Urshifu is gone, that's and Suicune is gone. So aside from
Suicune is gone.
Aside from, like, Raiku's inside of Miraidon and, like,
Entei's.
The odd Palkia deck, and of course Entei's, you're not going to see a lot of Vs out there. And I think, like, once they inevitably do print, not in Temporal Forces, of course, but probably the set after that, excuse me, I think I think that'll be the point where we get our reprint of the Tapu Lele GX, the Luminion V, like, go grab your supporter and then play it. Because that's just one of those effects that they've decided is just going to stay on a card. Like, it's Professor's Research, it's Boss's Orders, it's Switch, and it's Luminous Sign.
Luminia, dude, but it takes up a bench slot. Like, that's the drawback, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a free 2 prizers, so, like,
true.
It's fine.
I'm curious as to what they'll make it, though. Because, like, I'm trying to think of, like, what other guy they could use that's, like, a big basic. Ooh. Excuse me. Good lord. It just occurred to me that it's, like, almost 10 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
That, I can't think of many big basics that they'd be like, yeah, sure, go get your guys. Also, it was brought up on, like, I think I saw, like, a screenshot of a Twitter post on Instagram or something. It is such a missed opportunity that Ting Lu doesn't shut off EXs. I think that deck would be so sick if it shut off EXs.
I think it'd be actually kind of strong if it did.
Yeah, it'd be a really good deck. But, because, like, then you could shut off, like, your Charizards, and then, like, when we inevitably do get that Luminous Sign reprint, like, you'd be able to shut that off. Oh, man. Lots of cool stuff that's coming in rotation. I think we'll get that reprint, but, I'm mostly looking forward to that. That's kind of where my eyes are set right now, is the post-rotation stuff. Because that's, 2 regionals away, I want to say? Because it's Knoxville, and then it's Vancouver, I think, takes place right before or right after rotation.
Vancouver, I have a schedule here.
Yeah, I think that's the 22nd of March.
Vancouver happens 3/22 to 3/24. So I think rotation's like legal right after that.
Yeah, right afterwards. Yeah. So you'll probably have like build-in battles right after. Like people are going to drop from the tournament and go play build-in battles.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks after release that is legal.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's we've got our predictions for the tournament. I'm gonna predict one Arctina for Knoxville. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and predict it. Like we're gonna see one of those, or just some kind of Arc deck top 8.
Sure.
Something in there just for kicks and gigs. I think it'll be really good. But let's go ahead and wrap it up. Randy, where can the audience find you, bud?
Oh man, I didn't know I was gonna be put on blast like this.
No, I'm just asking.
I don't really. You know what? I don't use any social media but Twitter for things, so I guess I'll my Twitter handle. My Twitter handle is Randy Zerk, so it's RandyZerq, and that's me, Pokemon Professor Randy.
Yeah, and do you have like a Twitch or a YouTube anybody should be aware of?
Oh, you know what? I do stream on Twitch, don't I? Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, you catch me on twitch.tv/Raviel, RHAVIELL.
There you go. You can catch me.
One of us has to remember it.
True. You'll be able to catch me on Twitch eventually. When I make my big reappearance on Twitch at Welcome to Terminal. Well, that's Welcome TO Terminal TERMINAL, and on Instagram at Glenn.Seaman SEAMAN. But that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hopefully we'll catch you next time. Peace out.